forever and ever.
Yeah. Well, the body's only temporary, but our life is on His energy, not our energy. We're not the creator, we're not the controller, we're not the doer, we're not the owner, not the enjoyer. So He is doing everything, including our devotional service, and of course, providing the result of our activities. So when we engage in devotional service, at first, the first thing we need is knowledge. So yes, it's very good that you're studying the books. That's required, that's necessary. You have to know what's what. You have to know how to perform devotional service. But then, at some point, it has to go deeper than that. You have to get personally involved with Krishna. It's not something that you can keep, out here at a distance. You have to let this process of devotional service into your heart. You have to let it go deep into your mind and become a different state of consciousness, a different way of looking at the world. Krishna says in Bhagavad-gītā that the soul is experiencing different qualities of material life, like a person riding in a machine. It's like this body is a vehicle, and we're simply riding in it. We're not the doers. Like Arjuna is riding in the chariot, but Krishna is driving the chariot. You see? That's really the way it is. That's why that's such a powerful image. Krishna is driving everybody's chariot, driving everyone's body. And all the energy from that, for that body and for its activities is coming from Krishna. So it's actually under Krishna's control. It's not under our control at all. Neither our activities nor the results of those activities. But the thing is that Krishna responds to our desire. You see? So if you're starting to get this feeling that somehow or other, just thinking about devotional service, or just contemplating devotional service, or just knowing about devotional service isn't enough, that means you're ready to go deeper. You're ready to go to a more satisfying stage of devotional service. That means you have to engage your heart. You have to love Krishna. Some people think, oh, I'll do a little devotional service and then I'll enjoy the things of this world. Well, that's going to stop your devotional service right there. How do you think Krishna would feel about that? That we're playing up to Him, or flattering Him, or doing a little bit of superficial service just to get some material result, and then we're going to squander it on material enjoyment, and we're not going to love Him? Well, He's not going to really be into that, I mean, how would you feel? So we can understand that if we approach our devotional service like that in a superficial way, we'll get a very superficial result. And it won't be satisfying, and we won't be able to maintain it. Because our life has to be satisfying. If life is not satisfying, if we're not getting pleasure and satisfaction out of life that we need, then we're going to try something else, you see. So it's perfectly possible to fail at devotional service by not engaging our hearts, by just taking it as a religion, or taking it as some knowledge-based practice. Well, knowledge is important. We have to know what the philosophy is. But after a certain point, it's not about knowledge anymore. It's about love. Krishna wants us to love Him. He says so, right, in Bhagavad-gītā. Man mana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mang namaskuru. Think of me always and worship me. And how can you think of somebody all the time if you don't love them? That's really the only way. If you've ever been in love, you know that you think of the beloved constantly, effortlessly, automatically. You don't have to make an effort. You don't have to use some arcane system. well, let's see, now for 5 seconds I'll think of my beloved. No, you automatically think of the beloved because of attraction. So the same way, the more we know about Krishna, the more we know how wonderful Krishna is, the more we're attracted. And that attraction is the cause of our thinking about Krishna, about our thinking of loving Krishna. And as soon as we desire to love Krishna, oh, then Krishna is very pleased. And he gives the means by which we can come to him. He also says that in Bhagavad-gītā. So we can't approach Krishna on our own. We can't do it. It's not something that's within the power of the spirit soul to do. But we can desire to approach Krishna, and then Krishna will make the arrangements. Krishna will provide the means. That's how Krishna works. We have to understand Krishna's personality, Krishna's position, our relationship with him, how he actually does everything. Instead of us taking credit for it artificially, we should recognize Krishna is the doer. And we are simply the desirers. So that means we should desire what is actually good for us. We should desire devotional service and pure love of Krishna. And then we'll be happy. Then we'll be satisfied. Is there another question?
Yes. Next question. Oh no, from Tiago. You mentioned about the 50% effort. So he's asking, what is included in that last 50% to surrender completely that takes so long?
The stage of Raganuga sadhana bhakti, spontaneous loving service. And then the final stage where we discover our real identity. That's very, very difficult. You have to go deep, deep into your heart and find out it's like the thing that nobody wants to look at, the part of ourself that we totally reject and deny, that part. That's the part that Krishna loves the most, because that's the real part. But we have covered that up. We've tried very hard to forget it, gone into denial about it. And there's so many layers of material junk on top of that we have to clear away before we can get to it. And it can only be done by this process of spontaneous love. It can't be done by any kind of mechanical process, any kind of process involving the senses. It's completely internal, completely on the psychological platform. That's why it's so difficult. That's why most devotees never even attempt it. They just want to make devotional service a kind of an outer thing. They put on funny clothes, put on some tilak, dance around in the kirtan, Haribo, Haribo. And then they go out and they do whatever they want to do. But the real devotees, that's 50% surrender. The real advanced devotees, 80%, 90%, they are trying to clean their hearts. Now that's a whole different orientation than simply being an external devotee. You see? Just like when Arjuna asks in the 2nd chapter of Bhagavad-gītā, what are the qualities of a man who has attained transcendence? How does he sit? How does he walk? How does he speak? These are all external questions. But Krishna says, one who has actually gone beyond the qualities of this material existence has no more hankering for material sense gratification. He's not disturbed when there is suffering, nor elated when there is happiness. He's always equiposed, steady. Wait a minute. Krishna's not talking about how someone sits, how they walk, how they speak. He's talking about their inner state, the psychological state, their state of consciousness. So similarly, the first 50% of being a devotee might be external. How you do this, how you do that, what you say, what you do, how you dress, how you eat, stuff like that. That's the easy part. The hard part is the psychological part, cleaning the mind, changing the consciousness. See? That's the difficult part. And that's the part that most people miss, because they have this idea that it's just an external thing. So that's why I want to encourage the devotees to ask questions about the inner state of a devotee, you know. People ask more, they tend to ask more external questions, more superficial questions. How do I do this? How do I do that? You know, how do you change your consciousness? That's the real question. You see, and that's a very deep question. And to answer that question fully, we have to go into the specialized terminology